Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another video with brad@edgar.com, and today we're looking at basic Excel skills and what we can do and what I wish I would have known when I started using Excel. So we're going to look at about 29 different tips. Each of them will go across throughout the video, and I'm sure I will add a few additional as we go through. So the first one is going to be just getting into the Excel 2013 screen. If you hit the escape key, it actually brings you directly to the spreadsheet. Not many people know that. So that's our first tip. Quick and easy. If we go and scroll through this list here, you'll see we've got 29 different tips that we want to go through. If you don't see them all, don't worry. We're going to be going through them. So I will also post a link to the actual spreadsheet itself so you can keep it handy. So now that we brought ourselves over to the new sheet, we're going to type in how-to video. I accidentally hit Control semicolon there, and that actually put in today's date. We're just going to put a colon there, and as soon as we hit Alt Enter and we hit it twice there, that brought us down 2 lines within the cell. So if you would have just hit Enter there, it would have brought you down to the next cell as opposed to staying within the cell. Next tip is going to be looking at how we can use the line in between each of the columns and each of the rows to extend the width of the cells. So you see that we did that with B, and you'll see that you can actually see the height and the width of each of the cells as you're dragging and dropping there. Next thing is double clicking between each of those, between the row and the column. That's actually going to tighten everything up as close as it can to the text. We highlight 4 different rows and we wanted each of those rows or columns to be the exact same width. We can do that just by dragging and dropping after highlighting the 4 columns, and then we can double click when we have all 4 highlighted like that, and that's going to tighten everything up as well to the utmost tightest, depending on how wide your text is, I guess. So there we just hit Alt, we're going to hit H, B, and then A. So that's a shortcut just to put a border around the cell that you're on, or the cells that you would be on. And then we're just going to quickly highlight how-to video and hit Control B, and that will actually allow us to bold the characters there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at just adding some other tabs down here at the bottom. We're going to call this one Expense Tracker. And we'll add a separate one called Expense Tracker 2. We've got our information in there. We'll go back to Expense Tracker. So from this cell, we're going to be able to, I'm sorry. So the first thing we want to do is actually select both of the tabs down in the bottom there. If we hit Control and then use the left click key to select the other tab down at the bottom, that's going to highlight both of those. And then when we put information into the cell on Expense Tracker, it's going to copy directly over to Expense Tracker 2, which is awesome. Awesome. So now you'll see here, if we use Control plus Page Up, Page Down, so you just hold Control, hit Page Up and Page Down, that's going to shift you between all the different tabs that you have open in that workbook. So in this case, we used Page Up. Page Up brings us back to the left tabs, and then Page Down will bring us down a tab. And you can just continue holding it and scrolling between those. Tip number 6 and 7, we're going to enter some data here. So if we hit Tab when we're entering data, it's going to shift us over to the right cell. So it'll go to the right automatically. If you hit Shift Tab, and that's going to actually move you back a cell to the left. So that's quick and easy for data entry. If you hit Enter, it's going to bring us down to the next line. You'll see that in that case there, it brought us below January when we hit Enter on expenses there. The reason for that is it's trying to read your every move, and it sees that we've been entering data to the right of that. So it's going to try and do whatever it thinks is the best move based on your prior moves. So we'll just hit Shift Tab again. That's going to bring us back under expenses. Now that we're under expenses, we can fill out some data like gas bill here. Then we can hit enter. we wanted to fill something out right underneath, hydro, enter. So again, it's just a quick way of entering things. If you need to go back to fix something, you can hit Shift Enter, and that'll bring us back up a cell. So let's put in some more data here. Put 100 there. So the next tip here is tip number 8. Use Control R, and Control R is going to allow you to copy what is to the left of the cell that you're currently on. So it's going to copy the 100 that is located under January there, just by clicking Control R. You'll see if we highlight underneath the 100, if we hit Control D, it's going to copy directly above, which is the cell contents above, again, which is 100. Tip number 9, we're going to use the small square in the bottom right hand corner. We're going to drag it across all the way over to the right, and that's going to autofill our information. So you'll see when you're dragging across, it's going to actually give you a preview of what that data is going to be as you're filling it. So now if we just highlight all of the columns for our data set and we double click, as one of our, I think it was tip number 3 was showing, you double click that, it tightens everything up for you. So you'll see for the hundreds, we can drag those all the way across. Use the bottom right hand square, it drags over the 100 value. If we double click the bottom right hand side, or the bottom right hand corner, I'm sorry, again where the square is, it's going to just push that information down automatically for you, and it'll go as far as the data is to the left or the right. So if we're down to, if we have data in 100 entered all the way down to row 9 for example, and we double clicked the right hand corner on column D or cell D6, it would fill all the way down to D9. So that's another tip number 9. Next trick, let's just finish entering a few other lines of data here. We'll add mortgage, car payments, debt payments. Now that we've got that information in there, we're going to just copy from January over to December, and we have a couple options here. So when you hit Control C, that's automatically going to copy whatever cells you've highlighted. When you hit Control V, if you were to just hit Control V, it would just copy those in the exact order and exactly how it appears in those cells to wherever you paste that information to. We're going to use Alt HVT in this case, which is going to transpose that data. And what transpose means is if your data is horizontal that you're copying, it's going to paste it vertically. And if it's vertical, it's going to paste it horizontally. So let's take a look here. So if we hit Alt here, H, which is home, V, that brings up the paste window there. And then we're going to hit T to transpose, and you'll see all the other options here. That's something you can kind of explore later. You got the formula to copy just the formula. You can copy just the formula and the formatting. You can copy just the formatting, or you can transpose as we're going to do here. And again, there's a few other options. You can also link the information. So if something were to change in the cells that you've copied, it would automatically copy over and link the information and show exactly again what's showing up in the other cells. So once we hit paste, that kind of went quickly. You'll see that information showed up vertically. So we're going to fill out equals ran between as a formula here. And what the ran between formula does is it allows us to populate a cell with a random set of numbers. So it's just a separation of a comma there. If we put 100, for example, that'd be the minimum value, and if we put 150, that's our max value. So it's automatically, this formula is going to automatically select a random value between 100 and 150. And then we're going to use our other tip to just drag that across and copy that formula. So that's another way to quickly fill out just some random information here. Tip number 11 is to drag the contents of a cell or a range of cells just by grabbing it, and you'll see the 4-point cursor that shows up here. So there it is there. As you grab anything, you can just grab that cell, we'll move it right back up. You can do that with a range of cells as well. Excellent. So Tip number 12 looks at just using right click insert to insert a row after we've highlighted a row, or you can use right click and delete, and that'll delete the row or the column or the cell. So if we were to just highlight a cell in particular here, for example B8, and we said Control plus, that's going to be our shortcut for that. It's going to bring up this little box here, and it's going to say you want to shift the cells down, you want to shift the cells right, or do you want to enter an entire row or an entire column. So in our case, we're just going to shift the cells down, and then I'll just say Control Z, which just undoes your prior action. And if we hit Control plus after we've highlighted a row, it'll enter a whole row for you automatically. Control minus will remove the row, and I'll just add, you'll see Control plus plus just adds 2 rows quickly. Let's highlight all of our information. So tip number 13, is just to insert a table. And a table just names all the fields essentially and allows us to add total columns and add more data easily, and then keep field names as well consistent. That's something that we can go over in another video though. In our case here, we just want to show what we can do with the ribbon under the Design tab. So if we add total row under Table Tools there, that's going to add a total row down at the bottom, and it just automatically does the last column of our data set in our table. So now that we've done that, we're going to add another column, and you'll see that this automatically gets included in the table. Anything to the right, just to the right of our table, will get included in the table. So we have another field now named annual expense. So we're going to highlight all of our cells here for tip number 14, and we're going to use that AutoSum in the quick access ribbon bar under the Home tab. Okay, so a quick way to do that is using Alt-H-U-S, and that'll actually just do exactly what I just did there. And if you were to hit the down arrow beside the AutoSum in the ribbon under the Home section there, you will see a list of options. You could do average, you can do minimum, maximum, etc. So there's definitely some options available to you. We're just going to remove that extra row that I have in here. And we're going to do the totals here. So I can use that AutoSum again after just putting it on that cell. We can highlight the whole section and hit AutoSum as well, and that'll just automatically do the summation of each of the columns above and give us all the information that we need. So you'll notice that if you highlight anything on the total row or any cell on the total row, there'll be a down arrow, and you can also select a different method of calculation and formula just using that. In the top, we just highlighted all of our data, and you can switch under the Home tab the number formatting for the range that you've selected. Here we're going to select currency, and that'll automatically update all of our information to have currency. I think Control plus Shift plus 4 will automatically update the number formatting. Tip number 15 is to use the Control accent key, which is located just to the left of the number 1 on your keyboard, and that's going to show you all of the formulas within the spreadsheet. You can hit Control accent again to remove all the formulas and just show the numbers and characters that are within those cells. Hey guys, and welcome back. I had to cut the video short on the last one. I just kind of had to switch over some sheets and stuff, so I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to just cut over to the next tip using a quick pause and break there. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to run on tip number 16. So what I'm going to show here is how you can use Control plus Home to bring you back up to the first cell of the spreadsheet, as well as Control plus End, which will bring you to the last cell of the spreadsheet or the area that you've been working on. So it won't be the full spreadsheet. It all depends on which data you've selected already. So we'll just go from here. If we hit Control End, oh, I'm sorry. One of the first things I did there was I hit Control Shift right and then down. And what that does, the shift will actually highlight the cells. the control is going to allow you to move to the end of your data set and then all the way down to the end of your data set. So if I hit Control Shift right, that brings us to all the way over to the right, wherever we have data filled out. And then if we hit hold Control Shift as well, continue to hold Shift Control Shift, we can then hit the down arrow, and that'll bring us to the end of the data sheet. So that's kind of cool. So now if I hit Control Shift, or just Control Home, sorry, it'll bring you to the cell A, and Control End will bring us down to the end. Tip number 17 is Control A will allow you to select the data set that surrounds the cell you are on. So if we were to select customer 5 here and we hit Control A, or customer 6, it's going to automatically select our entire data set, so it'll look for everything that surrounds it. And tip number 18 is Control Shift F3. This is kind of cool. This is going to allow us to create field names and range names for the entire data set based on the columns, the rows, whatever you choose. So let's just hit Control Shift F3 here, and it's going to create some name ranges here. So here's what it'll bring up, this dialog box. It'll say you want to create names from values in the top row left column. We're going to say top row, which means it's going to create name ranges for all of the data below customer number, and it's going to name that range, that name range customer number, and then we'll have customer, address, city, state, postal code, sales region, and salesman, etc. So I'll take left column out. I want to do the top row only. I'll hit OK. And now we can actually use those name ranges to do calculations. So if I typed in the equal sign here, and we did count A, which is just to count anything, any text values, or the number of text values. So I can just type in customer number, you saw there. That actually just highlighted that whole customer section there. Or customer, I think it was customer there, yeah. Or no, it was customer number, I'm sorry. Tip number 19 is use Control K to create a hyperlink to another area in your document. So I'm going to type in some text in cell K4 here. So link to beginner techniques. We'll highlight back onto that, and I'm going to hit Control K. That brings up this screen. You'll notice that there's two options. You have existing file, or there's several options, I should say. Existing file or web page, or we can actually go to a place within the document that we want to link to. So that's what we're going to select. Place in this document. Scroll up a little bit here. I'm going to go to beginner techniques, and as soon as I click that link, it'll bring me to the beginner techniques tab. This is cool because you can do this with, you can add kind of buttons or images and shapes and use that functionality. So just a heads up on that one. All right, so our next tip is tip number 20. Under the View tab, you can use the Freeze Panes option to freeze cells. So the way it works is any cell, row, column, whatever you do, it's going to freeze anything to the left of whatever you've selected. If you're selected, if you're going to do a column freeze, and if you're going to do a row freeze, it's going to do anything above it. If you select cell B2, for example, it's going to do a column freeze on anything to the left and anything above that cell. So let's just go over that really quickly. So in this case, it's the row. So you'll see that I can scroll down and it's froze that whole top row, customer number and customer name, etc. I'm just going to unfreeze that. So if we wanted to do 2 rows, I'd go down 1 to row 3. You'll see that it'll freeze both of those. We'll unfreeze that. If I do a column C, it's going to hold the columns all the way to the left. So if I scroll over to the right, there you go. Unfreeze that. And as I said, if we just select one cell and we freeze it, anything above and to the left of that cell will be frozen. I use this one all the time, guys. Let's unfreeze that. Our next tip is using control. Actually, just so you know, you'll see that those down arrows showed up really quickly. So all I did was I hit Control Shift L, and that allows us to bring up a filter on the top fields of our data set. So it'll, or the top cells of our data set. So anything that's at the top of the data set that we have, all those cells will add a filter will be added. So you can kind of use the drop down menu here on those. So I just sorted salesman, and for tip 21, we can group items like items. So if I group salesman 1 here, I can use Alt Shift right to group, or I can go to the data tab, I believe, yeah, and under outline you can go group. I just grouped the rows, so it grouped all of those rows, so I can easily just double click that and select, and I'll see all my salesman information for salesman 1. So you can just as easily ungroup that information, and to ungroup it's Alt Shift left arrow, or again you can go up into your data outline view there on the quick access bar. So I just added another column here. Our next tip is going to be to use the text to format in Excel, which is another great one. So we can split up all the text. We can split up all the text of a specific cell or a range of cells that matches it up to it. So, for example, here we can split out customer 11 to be customer, and then 11 would be in our next column. So it'll take it right out of there. So let's just show you how that works. And the shortcut for this one is Alt AE, guys. So this is in the quick access ribbon as well, under the data tab, text to columns. So we're going to select delimited, because anything delimited is, it could be a comma. So under our data set, it could have a comma that's separating two different words. It could be a space, which is our case here. Or you can actually just set a fixed width if you don't have any actually delimiter, but you have something that seems to work to do a fixed width to separate data within a specific cell. So if I hit next, we're going to unclick that. We're going to go to space. I'm going to go next here. Never mind what I do with text qualifier. There's no issue there. I don't know exactly how that works. So, so now that we've done that, you'll see that it's separated out customer. It's going to just leave customer in the first cell, and it's going to move all of the numbers over to the right cell of it. And you can select the data format. So if we wanted to put it to text, if it was a date, we'd change it to date. So that's definitely some handy functionality there too. And you can do the advanced section up there, but we're just going to hit finish in our case here just to show you guys what this does. So you'll see that split out customer 11. It pushed over the 11 right over to the cell C2 and all the way down for that column. So we're going to now insert a row, and we're going to show you how we can remove duplicates. If I just hit Control D across, it's just going to copy the exact information. And of course, you know, Control plus enters and adds a row automatically. So tip number 23 is to use from the data tab, remove duplicates. Alt AM is the shortcut. So to delete duplicate values, it says select one or more columns that contain duplicates. So if we select all of the fields that are highlighted here, it's gonna have to meet that criteria. All the fields will have to be exactly the same, and it's gonna remove those duplicates accordingly. So if you wanted to remove duplicates where the state matched, only the state matched, we'd unselect all of those and select only state, and then it would only keep one record, or the first record that we have a date or the state of Arizona, for example. I'm just trying to get my video going again. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we're back in business. So you'll see that one duplicate was found, which was the row below, and it removed it. Very cool. All right, so where are we at now? We're going to look at Our next tip, well, we're just showing again here that the duplicates have been removed. All right. So let's go back over to the expense tracker tab. We'll select our entire data set here. I'm going to copy it. I'm just going to paste it over here, just the numbers. We're going to show you how the format painter works. So I'm just going to hit escape here, and that'll actually remove that. Alright, sorry guys, I just paused the video because my dog was barking like a crazy man. I do apologize. So we're going to select the format painter up in the ribbon there under the home tab, and that's after selecting our area. So you'll see that it selects that, gives us the dotted line, which means it's kind of copied it, but it's just copied the formatting automatically. So you can also do this with just copying the area and then pasting the format. That's another way of using it, but this is a quick way to use to get the formatting copied from a section of cells. So we'll see that. We're just gonna use this format painter. You just hit it once and it'll be the exact size of the cell range that we selected. So you'll see that all that formatting copied over exactly. All right, so tip number 25 is to hide tabs in the workbook. So if you right click the tab you'd like to hide and select, we just go right click and we go to hide and unhide. So unhide, if you right click and then you click and you select unhide, it's going to bring up this little one here. You can select which sheet you want to unhide. So right click, again, that's right click to hide. You'll see that option available. And if you do have some that are hidden, if you just click on any of the tabs down at the bottom, you can go unhide and a list of the tabs that have been hidden for that workbook will come up and you can select which one you want to show again. That comes in handy if you're sending stuff out and you don't want people to see things, or some people know how to do it, but you can also protect sheets. That's another way of doing that. So tip number 26 was to remove grid lines from any of the worksheets that we're on or spreadsheets that we're on. So we simply need to go to the View tab and in the Show section, just unselect the grid lines. The shortcut for that one is Alt-W-V-G. We are almost there. So tip number 27, guys, use Control+N to open up a new workbook. So if you hit Control+N from any workbook in Excel, it's going to create a brand new workbook. Tip number 28, you can use Control-Tab to go between and scroll between all of the open workbooks that you have. So if you have 10 open workbooks and you hit Control-Tab, it's going to allow you to flip-flop between each of those. And finally, Control-S to save a workbook. So if the workbook has not yet been saved, it's going to bring up this box here that's going to allow you to, the Windows box that's going to allow you to actually save that wherever you'd like within your documents library or desktop, whichever you prefer. If that file has already been saved as something and you hit Control-S, it's just going to save it without actually bringing up the box to rename how you'd like to save it. And if that's the case, you can use F12 as a shortcut to save as. So that's your save as option. So we'll just save this, or I'm just gonna back out of this here. And finally, our option here is to hit Control P, and that'll bring up our printer selection and allow us to select a printer and print our document. I am not going to print, but that option is available. So thank you for coming out and checking out this long video or set of videos. I appreciate you guys taking a look, and we'll see you next time with some other great tips from bradedgar.com. Thanks.